It's the English and English podcast.
Podcast. I wish it was
man,
a podcast.
All cash. The podcast.
Not yet.
Not yet, though. The podcast.
We should call it podcast.
Make that money.
Make that
podcast.
money.
101 ways guaranteed to make you money at the English and English podcast. Step 1, give us your money. Step 2,
how does that make them money? We should say 101 guaranteed reasons to make, or ways to make money from English and English, and we'd be like, sell us this, sell us that. Anything that we'd be looking for.
But as I said, it's English and English podcast. That's Eric.
That's Brett.
And we're gonna get started.
So right into the trending searches, which I still have to say I've been disappointed with just how kind of vague they are.
Right.
I want to see. We're gonna have to find another way to look these up.
We're looking at the wrong thing.
We're looking at the wrong thing. Yeah.
We want to find something that's like basically what are people talking about this week is what we're trying to find.
Which is sort of reflected by this, but not really.
But not really. It's just vague.
Because like Will Smith
humorous.
and Jada Pinkett Smith maybe getting divorced. Rumors are swirling. No one gives a shit about that.
Apparently, some people, enough people to make it trending.
But we don't give a shit.
I don't give a shit about that.
An American Pharaoh winning his first race since the Triple Crown. No, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Here's a good one. There's this robot called HitchBot.
Yes, I heard about this.
So they made this robot.
So it went through how many states?
Well, it went all the way across Canada. It was
That's
a Canadian venture, and I don't know exactly.
So it went west coast to east coast, and then down.
Well, then I don't know where in Canada. I don't know which way they did it. Presumably from the west coast of Canada to the east coast, and then they were going to do. Well, then it went through Europe too. They said certain.
Oh, so they picked it up and shipped it at some point.
Yeah. And then they did the same thing in parts of Europe, and so basically it would sit by the side of the road with like its thumb up, and it looks like I don't know, kind of like a regular robot thing. It's
right, it's got a little bucket
cylinder
head,
with legs,
yeah.
And I guess it tracks its location. I don't know what else it does. Maybe it takes snapshots and stuff. Yeah. But people would just carry it along. They would put on it like where it's supposed
and they would say, "Take me to Newark," or something like that.
Or I don't know what it does.
I think it would verbally or maybe on a screen would say something about like, "Please take me to this place," and see if people would take it.
They would take it as far as they can, drop it, like set it somewhere, and someone else would take it. And it made it all the way across Canada, that way parts of Europe, and then they tried to do it in the U.S. and it got destroyed like halfway through Philadelphia.
Right, it got to Philly and somebody smashed it,
and then took pictures of it and like posted it to their wall. Yeah, they smashed it up, which I thought was hilarious.
I bet the news story was like, in Philly today, some youths have smashed it. Have some youths?
So that's some youths. What people are talking about. Oh, and Roddy Piper died.
I saw that.
Yeah. That's crazy. Only 61. He wasn't that old.
Well, no, that's
for a heart attack. Yeah, he's 61.
But I mean, like that's like I mentioned earlier in some of the other podcasts. When it goes back, like I said, I watched some of it. I more watched these wrestler guys as they went into their movie stuff after wrestling.
Right, we didn't.
I didn't watch wrestling as much, but I remember having a few like wrestling action figures.
Yeah, we had some figures.
But I just knew who these guys were more after the fact than ever. But his stories from like his own podcast and stuff were fascinating because it was just rough stuff like that. Just like the crazy early days of wrestling where they beat the hell out of each other, did all sorts of unsafe stuff, and like man,
so that's a shame.
That's a shame.
And around. Ronda Rousey gave him a shout out after her fight because she asked him to use the name Rowdy. And apparently he's like, yeah, sure, kid, because it's back when she was a nobody. So.
Right, yeah. It's like, do you mind if I go with it? Like,
yeah, no problem, kid.
Yeah. So. All I remember from her recently is she's obviously a very skilled fighter in her division, the female stuff, but sometimes she comes across like, all tons of fighters do this, so you can't really blame her.
She's definitely a bitch.
Bit of an ass.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't even saying bitch, she's just an ass. Because she did something like, what was like the recent ESPY Awards, like the ESPN Sports Awards or whatever, she won for like Best Fighter of the Year or something. Okay. So she's like, said something to, like when she was doing her acceptance speech, said something to like Mayweather, like, you just got beat by a woman. It's like, come on, okay. First off, you just won an award, the same group that handed out a Courage Award to Caitlyn / Bruce Jenner.
Well, here's something about, Ronda Rousey and Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, I don't know what the beef was there or whatever, if she just thought it would be a clever quip, which I guess good PR sense on her, but...
On Fox Sports, says Ronda Rousey and Floyd Mayweather need to fight. No one would sanction that fight. She'd get destroyed.
Yeah.
There'd be...
She would have a slight edge in the fact that he's trained only in boxing, but... Also, too, like, to go back a little bit, this is way back now. This is months in the past, obviously, that fight between Pacquiao and Mayweather. But, I think that was, like, one of the biggest fights in boxing that kind of killed boxing. Because all it did, to me, my estimation is all it did was prove to everybody who jumped back on the boxing bandwagon to see this much anticipated fight, it only proved to them that MMA is better. Everybody
the Pacquiao fight?
Yeah, everybody showed up to watch Pacquiao and Mayweather, two of the best, fight, and they were like all anticipating it. It ended up being a really slow points game, which, I mean, fights in MMA go that way too. But this is supposed to be the two top guys, and all it ends up being is that the best guy is the best because he knows how to get the judges to vote for him. He knows how to play points. You can't argue his skill at the game of boxing, but it's not a very good spectator thing to watch. Like, nobody came out looking like the better fighter, per se. They came out looking like the better boxer, which is slightly a different thing.
That's what he did. That's
what but I mean, like, it makes you millions of dollars, sure. But it's gonna, I think the thing is, it just reminded everybody that MMA is more interesting to watch.
No one would ever sanction that fight, though.
Oh, no, nobody would. They, nobody would sanction any of the cross-gender fights like that. Yeah. It's never gonna happen. People want it because they think it'll prove something, but it just never happened. Like, there was that story of, like, the one guy who's, like, a transgender fighter.
Yeah, Fallon Fox.
Yeah, and he, like, demolishes every woman.
Right.
Like,
the worst part about that is a lot of the female fighters, up until that story broke, basically, didn't know they were fighting a dude.
Right, yeah. Like, the one woman said, like, I couldn't believe how strong this person was. They were destroying me.
Right.
And then it turns out it's, because they got Y chromosomes. It's a guy with his... with boobs.
Taking a little bit of reverse steroids doesn't really change it.
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, he probably was a pretty big athletic guy before. It wasn't like some slight waif of a dude.
I mean, it was a small guy because, I mean, it's like 5'7" and
well, I mean,
135
pounds. I'm saying in comparison.
Whatever.
This is not some guy who's like, was a weakling and then decided, I'm going to be a woman.
But even still, fighting has weight classes, so...
Well, yeah.
A dude at whatever weight class...
A dude at whatever weight class is denser in general than like a woman at that weight. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, obviously,
muscle density and stuff like that.
Why he's winning everyone.
Right, it's just an evolutionary difference, evolutional creation, whichever one you want to say. It's verifiable
how it got there,
difference.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's funny is because they're literally, like, the whole equalists are literally being punched in the face with their ideology now.
Right, yeah,
you know
exactly,
what I mean?
yeah. It's like, there's a difference between saying, like, and that's the thing that's so pedantic and dumb about it. It's like, there's a difference between saying that everybody has some measure of worth, regardless of your genetic differences.
But first of all, I don't necessarily agree that that's true, but it is a separate issue.
But I'm saying, like, that is a philosophy that comes from a religious principle.
You can't necessarily prove or disprove.
Right, but I'm saying, like, you can adopt a philosophy.
Sameness, this equality, the sameness ideology is bogus.
That's what I'm saying. See, like, the problem is...
And that's actually disprovable, demonstrably false.
Demonstrably scientifically false.
Right, even identical twins have different fingerprints. No two human beings are the same.
In an old school idea, when people talked about equality...
They meant value of
the human life because everybody has a soul.
Right.
You get rid of that spiritual element and you're just talking science. Some people are bigger, taller, shorter, fatter, stronger, weaker than each other.
You don't have to get rid of it for like equality, meaning sameness, to be bogus.
Well, exactly.
Whether or not you agree with the value of human life.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
it's
two separate questions. This is what I'm saying. You're getting rid of it, meaning it's two separate questions. You can believe in a philosophy that says every human being has worth, i.e., they are intelligent
you still are being
or
completely
conscious,
unscientific, and just wrong if you say they're all the same.
Exactly, but you are completely unscientific to say that everybody has the same skill.
I mean, that's why they get mad when any guy tries to break into anything that's female. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's one of those funny things. If anybody comes up with this, I can't believe I never thought of it sooner.
Yeah.
But let's say everybody has those things like men and women are all the same, and then they start saying, well, we need to get women involved in this. Why aren't there any female judges on this panel?
Yeah.
Like, well, men and women are the same, so why does there need to be a female judges?
That's what I always said. I was like, if everyone's the same, races, genders, diversity becomes meaningless.
Right, yeah. Adding...
You shouldn't even be able to tell. How can you even tell?
Who cares if it's 6 white guys on the panel?
Everyone's
all the same.
Yeah, they're all the same. Switching one of the same thing out for another same thing shouldn't matter.
You're defeating your own purpose when you talk about it.
They're defeating their own argument by saying that we need to have more of this group on it. What group? You can't separate them if they're the same. You wouldn't even be able to tell which ones are in this group if they're all the same.
Right, yeah, exactly. Oh, well. We won't go down that stinky rabbit hole. We'll stick
again.
At least not too much more yet. We'll go more into humorous avenues,
we'll see what else
if we can. If the internet does not...
Speaking of humorous...
give us only turds.
Oh, we have Cecil the Lion.
Now, I don't know a whole lot about this story, but I know it's making the rounds. I just know the guy shot a lion that apparently had a name, so everybody's going,
yeah, just because it had a name. And it appears that it may have been technically illegal. That I don't know. The guy paid a guide, so if it is illegal, it probably was on the African side of it. You know what I mean? This guy was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go on safari hunting for $50,000." And like, "Sure, right this way.
Right,
shoot
that's
this lion."
Like, that never happens in Africa.
It probably happens all the time, and just the only reason
it
this
does happen
guy,
all the time. That's why.
No, I mean it being illegal and everything, even if the person thinks it's legal.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like they have a huge problem with poaching in Africa, and it's not mostly white poachers. It's mostly African poachers or people looking to make money off of white hunters. Not having the proper licensing and everything, but just like you said, being like, yeah, sure, I'll take your $50,000, and I'll walk you on. Oh yeah, it's licensed for sure. They just drove them up to the edge of the safari.
Well, apparently, they lured it out of the protected range, which is like probably a way of skirting the rules. Because I mean, like,
right? But I'm saying, I guarantee you, that's a local that set that all up because they wanted a whole bunch of money.
They wanted that money, yeah, which is not surprising.
I mean, it could have been. This guy could have known what he was doing and did it anyway. He could have been a scumbag.
Right.
Or, well, a scofflaw, let us say.
Yeah, scofflaw.
Not necessarily a scumbag.
Right.
A scofflaw. But, like, you know, the one thing, of course, is everybody's outraged for these kinds of things. Everybody gets to feel good about denouncing how hunting is wrong without actually doing anything. It's like, hunting's not wrong. Even if we never eat any of the things we hunt, like anybody anymore, it's still getting in touch with your roots, and all the people who would celebrate.
I mean, anyone who bitches that, you would have to have some more metric by declaring by which it's wrong.
Right. But I'm just saying
it's not wrong according to like Christianity or anything.
But it's not wrong according to evolution, which says nothing.
Certainly,
is wrong.
I mean, according to that, like if you're just an atheist, evolution is a biological determinist.
Yeah.
Then there's no such thing. It's not even wrong to kill a person. There's no such thing as right or wrong.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, you could say that some things have negative consequences for you or other people,
right.
but that's not the same thing as saying something's wrong.
You could say, right? Yeah. You could say that we should preserve.
But that just
these
becomes
species.
That just becomes an argument
choice.
of utility, really.
Well, it's not even utility. That's the thing. Like preserving lions has no utility for humans.
Right.
It's
it does for some people. The point is that it's just an argument of based on your particular value statements.
Right.
There's no universal. It's wrong to kill a lion. It's not even universally wrong to torture someone outside of some sort of universal value structure.
Yeah, a structure that acknowledges a universal truth of some kind.
Right.
But anyway, like again, not trying to go down that rabbit hole. It's just that apropos of, or even without getting into any of that, people just love to, because it's one of those things that everybody kind of agrees, like everybody dislikes the idea of hurting animals. And on the one hand, it's good, on the other hand, it's bad. On the one hand, it's wrong to unnecessarily harm anything, animal or person. On the other hand, though, it is not unnecessary harm to go out on a hunt. Yeah. I don't think. Now, in a nation like Africa or whichever nation that was, Zimbabwe or something like that, where they have the right to preserve their rare species and say you can't do that without proper licensing.
Don't necessarily do.
Right, but I think that was part of the problem, is that they have preserves, and this got skirted around that.
Right.
So obviously it was wrong in that sense. Like this was not, he did not have the right to kill this lion and lure it out thing. But we don't know. Everybody just got all indignant and stuff. Nobody knows.
I was thinking we should make a video, because they always have those videos that crop up every once in a while about how, like something like a lion or whatever, where they raised it and they let it free, and then they go back out and they're like happy to see them.
Right. Yeah.
We should make one that's like a biologist reunited with a gorilla that he trained or whatever, and it's just like and like smashes his face in. Like it's just a wild gorilla, and he goes up and tries to hug it, and it just beats his brain.
Well, no, it would be even funnier if it was like a gorilla. He taught sign language and then released him.
And it's like, fuck you!
It's like, fuck you, Dad! It's like, I hate your guts, Dad! Like signing.
And it's just like
these like passive aggressive, like clean the dishes, okay, Dad? Or something like that. And bashes his head in. Yeah.
Also, there's one that was just too hilarious to not mention, which was well-known feminist professional outrage artist. What the fuck is her name? I think it was Jessica Valenti or whatever.
I'm not
just one of the fucking whatever loudmouth cunts that just try to
make money by saying you're wrong and you should feel bad.
Yeah. Anyways, and like I think she was even the one who had like put a picture with the mug that was like, I bathe in male tears and stuff like that.
What?
Yeah, it's like stupid bullshit.
That's like, that is literal sexism.
Right, I know. That's what's so funny.
To have a mug that says, the other gender hurt makes me feel good.
Right. I mean, it's hilariously hypocritical.
Right, yeah.
It was just like, obviously. Anyways, I don't know for a fact if that was her, though, but one of them had. I think it was her. Anyways, let me look that up in a second. But she posted this article on, I think it was Huffington Post or the Guardian or whatever rag she writes for.
Right.
And maybe the Guardian. It was like,
She's like 35 now. She's actually lamenting that guys don't pay attention to her anymore.
I
Can you
didn't
believe
see this.
that?
I didn't know who
but
this was.
But the way she
who wrote
framed it was even more pathetic. Was I hate that like the patriarchy makes me, or that society makes me miss male attention.
Yeah.
It's like it's
she
not,
was lamenting
like,
that.
Sorry,
as a
honey,
young,
it's genetics that make you miss attention.
She was lamenting that when she was younger.
She was saying all these
she
guys are just like
some of it
harass me.
Some of it was lewd attention,
and it was hilarious. And one of the articles was like,
but it was attention nonetheless. Now she doesn't get it.
Subjected to the worst of male attention, and the example she gave was some guy in a businessman in a suit was like, "Hey, honey, take care of those titties for me."
That's a hilarious line, actually,
and hardly threatening.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah, it's rude.
That's right along there. Yeah, it's
so is someone being
rude.
like, "Get out of the way, jerk." You know, because rudeness abounds.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not an excuse for it. That is funny, but
right. Yeah. That's the same level of sexual harassment as "come on, come on, honey, come on,
come on." Did we talk about that in the last one?
Yeah, one of the last two.
Look at this great. Come on.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
Oh yeah, because we were talking about.
Come on.
Yeah, that's all it takes for women to be convinced of something against their will, and we really don't need Hillary to be president.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
We can't have
if it counts as rape and somebody is saying "come on" until they have sex with you.
Yeah, exactly.
If that's rape,
forcing and overpowering.
Then any female president we have will be overpowered in any
board meeting.
If she ever agrees to like a single like Senate meeting, like I won't veto this because they said "come on."
Yeah. Also, I just remind for some reason going back, I think Mayweather fights at like 155.
Yeah, he's pretty light. He's not.
No, but I mean, she's 135.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So it's not even like they're in the same weight class. I mean, not that a man and woman, any professional fighter in the 135 is
I thought he fought 145. Or
it may be 145. The point is, he's even heavier.
Maybe
not
only
is he a dude.
Pacquiao
not only is he a dude, he's. I think they went like 152 or something. Not only is he a dude, he's heavier than her too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he fights 155. I think he went low for Pacquiao because Pacquiao went up. Pacquiao's a little lighter. But I'm not sure. I'm not as much of a boxing guy.
Yeah, I don't follow boxing that much.
Yeah.
What was I going to look up? Oh, what was it looking up? Was it Valenti?
Yeah, seeing if she had the mug about male tears or something like that. Another tasteful case of obviously a very reasonable person who... Yeah, and listen to that too. Someone who has
well, it's a sweatshirt, not a mug. It says,
a sweatshirt.
I took a picture for all the misogynist whiners. I bathe in male tears. Sounds like you're bathing in your own tears.
You bathe in male tears,
looking
and then
at
your
you.
last
They're not crying
article,
about you.
Your last article is about how men don't pay attention to
isn't
me
it fucking
anymore.
hilarious?
Like maybe it's because you've been a stone cold bitch this whole time.
You can't even parody that shit. Yeah. Someone who's like younger and hotter, like, these guys are bothering me. A mere like 10 years later, and saying like, I bathe in tears of dudes. Like, guys. It's fucking pathetic is what it is. And he's not even trying to hide that fact. It would be bad enough if she just realized that and it was just like, shit. But she's like writing it for everyone to see. It's fucking hilarious.
Well, it's like, I can't believe people can be that logically inconsistent. Like,
I know. Isn't that unbelievable?
Everybody lives their lives under certain logical fallacies at some point.
Being wrong is one thing.
I've lived thinking that this was the right way to do something, and then it turned out that that was a bad way to invest my time. That didn't pay off. Right. And then I gotta go, shit, my assumption was wrong. Like I thought that this would work, or something.
Right.
But that's different than after it's proven.
Right.
That, like, you can't see that you get less male attention because you're older and because you've probably been an asshole this whole time. If your t-shirt says, I bathe in male tears.
Right.
Like, obviously men are going to pay less attention to you because they don't want
and
someone
what's so
to
funny is that they
spar
were,
with
it's just unbelievable because the same person, if they saw someone... who, like a dude that had a shirt that said "I bathe in female tears,"
they would know
like this
immediately why
horrible
it was
abuser,
terrible.
and like this, like, oh my god, look at this person, it's such a misogynist.
They would know immediately why that was.
But it shows what their motives are. It's never really been about
selfish motive.
Well, it's never even been about equality.
Fairness,
it's just been about pro-female, anti-male.
Right.
When everyone says that they're just a man-hater and they go and wear something like that, just proves
pro-female because I'm female, so pro-me.
Yeah.
And then,
well, the funniest thing, even more so, is let me see. Is they changed the article name shortly after it was released. It used to be I hate that, or like I hate that I miss male attention, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And they changed the name.
To be something more palatable.
Right.
Like the patriarchy makes me miss male attention, or I don't know. Whatever. We'll find something lighter fare so we're not just going, I'm out, gagging ourselves the whole time with more people being stupid. Although that is the font of much humor in life, is people being stupid.
Yeah, I
total turnaround here. Apropos of nothing we've talked about. Movie discussion time. You saw Mission Impossible, didn't you?
It was good.
Yeah, give us the
I thought it
roughly
was probably
spoiler-free
the best one after the first one.
Yeah.
And I'd say the second one was
You know what's
the
surprising? Apparently, like Rotten Tomatoes, the first one's pretty low.
Really?
Like 60s.
Huh.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people just didn't.
I think it
was
went
a
over
totally
some
different
people's
type
head.
of movie.
It was a different type of movie. Like the later ones were very much action movies, like action spy movies.
Yeah.
The first one was
like
more of a spy thriller
yeah.
about like who's betraying whom, and this complicated back and forth of who has the actual knock list. You know, the list of all the spies' aliases and what their real names are and everything. And it was kind of like a one of those kind of like mindfuck type plot lines more than like an action movie. Although
and this had a little bit of that in it too.
Right.
Yeah, did you see it?
No.
Okay, yeah. So
that's why I said spoiler free.
Yeah. I won't say a whole lot, but it definitely had elements of that.
Right.
Where like switching back and forth, not knowing exactly what's going on until other things, give it
until
out.
things are revealed.
But definitely way more of an action movie than the first one.
Right. Yeah.
But I liked it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Definitely worth watching, I think.
Yeah, I heard that the big stunt that they show in the trailers
on the plane.
is like actually pretty early in the movie, huh? Like
it's very like opening scene
kind of thing. Yeah, gotcha.
We're just showing some random.
I still think that's cool, just because like that would be one of those things. Like, man, it'd be scary as hell, but I kind of want to do that.
I would do that.
I would kind of want to be strapped into the outside of a plane and just see what it's like.
Weren't you the one telling me that because it had to make like get to full height before doing a landing, and they had to do like 3 or 4 takes, and you got all frozen?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I saw some behind the scene thing, and he's going up to several thousand feet
because they have to make a
full around the airport
like
and land because of the traffic pattern. You have to go up. And you can't just turn around and land the same way. You got to go around the airport at cruising altitude. One of probably the lowest available one.
Still 5,000 feet or something.
A couple thousand, like 2,000 maybe or something. But like 2,000 feet up, 3,000 feet up, because it was a prop C-130 or something,
it was a big cargo plane.
And then it has to turn around and land back in the pattern. All FAA rules about that stuff. So he's strapped to the outside of this plane.
Yeah.
For a significant portion of that flight, or the whole flight, depending, and then it lands again.
And he had to do like 3 or 4 times. So it probably took like at least 10 or 15 minutes for each one.
A minimum.
Yeah.
Maybe 20.
Depending on how long they had to wait.
Depending on, I'm sure they were able to clear the whole airway, but FAA rules still say you've got to adhere to certain flight plans, and do it. You can't just go up, do a barrel roll, and turn around, exactly. You go up 1,000 feet in the air wearing a suit and tie. And you're just strapped in with a harness, like somewhere between 1,000 and 5,000 feet in the air. And I'm assuming it was on the lower end, but still, minimum of 1,000. They're going to let a plane that big cruise around.
I imagine, yeah. So you got all chilled.
Yeah, it would be one hell of a ride.
Yeah, definitely. I would do it.
Yeah.
This is hilarious. They tried. I found the article I was just talking about.
How they renamed it.
Yeah, they renamed it to make it like a positive. The original, I don't remember the exact wording, but the original title was that she missed it and she's pissed off.
I remember hearing about this article before it was changed.
Like, I'm mad, I miss male, or I'm mad, I think it was, I'm upset that a society makes me miss male attention or something like that.
Right.
The new title of this article, One Perk of Older Age, Fewer Cat Calls.
One perk of older age.
Like,
yes. The hamster wheel is spinning
inside
wildly.
The brain is just going crazy. Wild stuff. Okay, so another thing that's been in the news lately is Donald Trump.
Yes.
I think it's in the rise of the Cuckservative.
Yes, that's been making that round.
I love that term. It's perfect.
It's too perfect.
It's perfect to describe like the fucking backstabbing quote unquote conservatives,
right?
Who are more interested in just everyone thinking that they're not a mean old conservative.
Right, yeah.
That's all it's about. They don't want to be labeled as a mean old conservative.
You would think they were actually people, like, they couldn't have been planted as moles more perfectly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because all it is, like, if for those of you who don't know, like, Cuckservative is a term that somebody I don't know coined in the internet somewhere, Reddit forums or something.
The one who popularized it was Hartiste. He started using it a lot.
Okay, yeah.
And then
but somebody made some memes and other people, and it's made a whole bunch of rounds recently because basically the idea is that instead of calling them, like conservatives or neoconservatives
or
rhinos, it's a new way of saying like rhino, but basically a little bit more insulting because the idea is it's not that you're not just Republicans in name only. You're conservative in name only. Like you're a person who says like, oh, I'm conservative. Like I believe in American or traditional values, but please come in all these immigrants and change the country. Or please,
Cernovich had a good definition of it. Let me see what...
Basically, it means like a ballless person who turns on their... Just like a cuckold is someone who lets somebody else fuck his wife.
Right.
And is okay with it or knows it does nothing about it.
It's more about making excuses
Well, it's either you make excuses for it or you're some sort of perv who is into that thing.
Likes it, yeah.
Or you have no balls to stop it. You know, and so cuckolding is when a woman who you end up raising somebody else's kids. And
even Breitbart said... Cuckservative is a gloriously effective insult.
Oh, right, yeah.
It drives him mad.
Right,
you know, and it's funny because it shows like the shiv strikes right in the right spot, so to speak. Here we go. This is Mike Cernovich from Danger and Play.
Okay.
What is a cuckservative? A cuckservative is a Republican who enjoys watching his friends on the right, and indeed his entire country, get screwed by the radical left. A cuckservative will never have the back of his, quote, friends or allies, and instead often joins in the rapes of right-wing allies. A cuckservative will purge wrong thinkers, quote, like Steve Saylor, the Derb, Ramsey Paul from the right, even though the left gives Al Sharpton, an actual murderer and racist, and Bill Ayers, an actual terrorist, media platforms. A cuckservative wants to be part of the establishment. They take their rules from Gawker and other social justice warrior-run media sites. That's
kicking in.
Well, that's on Breitbart.
On the thing. Come on, Breitbart.
A cuckservative...
We already plugged you.
...spends massive amounts of time status signaling, also called virtue signaling, to the left. That's what it's about. It's like them wanting to be accepted. It's all about acceptance.
Yeah, well, it's the same kind of thing we always decry on Facebook and everything else.
Well, they put acceptance and image secondary to the actual issues and ideology. Or principles.
They put it above actual.
That's what I meant. They put principles secondary to image and
right.
And
that's the problem with most leftism.
Yeah, cuckservative sells out his allies by calling them racist, and they do a lot of trying to tone police. And I'm not reading here, but tone policing and trying to. I guess regulate how it's perceived. Like you'll say, like I'm against immigration. They'll trip over themselves. Because, I'm against illegal immigration. We're not a racist here.
Right? Yeah. It's like nobody has to be like we've already said numerous times.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Like I have met people from every country. I do not wish them ill. I just want my country to be my people's country.
Well, the point that we were making before is on immigration, at least, is it doesn't even matter if, even according to your value statement, the immigrants are better, quote unquote, than the host population. Like a lot of people would think that, like a lot of cuckservatives would think that, like the British imperialist army or government was like a much more evolved, kind of well-run, better for rights than like Indians.
Right.
But it still destroyed the host culture to have them massively migrate there. You can think that's good or bad, but it fucking happens.
Right. Exactly.
And certainly when. Like we've been saying multiple times, when a huge group of people come in and have different value system, different beliefs, different cultural traditions, and different genetic predispositions, they're not gonna. The country will be different. Right. Period.
Right.
That's you know what I mean? Like
for good or for ill, it will be different.
It will be different.
Period. It will be different.
And if you can't even admit that, you can say it's good. Whatever. That's an argument you can make. Right. But you have to admit it.
Like
I
said,
it will be different.
You could make the argument. Let's again like taking out the subcontinent.
You could
India.
You could say they're better off now. Or whatever.
They're better off because even though it was British imperialism and they were ruled by foreigners for a while, it brought them into the first world and brought them into the modern world.
Which I'm not even necessarily making that argument.
No, I'm not. But I'm saying you could make that argument. You could say that the mass migration of British people and the importation of their culture and their influence changed their society for the better.
But you can't
say it didn't change their society.
Right. And
you can't say it's going to be easy.
But there's no example that I know of in history where mass migration didn't actually just eliminate the existing culture. It's gone. Like the Indian culture that existed when
200 years ago is
not
totally
there.
gone.
Yeah, it's not there. There's elements of it, but it's not there.
It's been irrevocably altered.
Yeah, and the American Indian culture is gone.
Yeah.
The South American Indian culture is gone.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everything is mass immigration always changes or just eliminates.
The culture that was there in Europe before Rome showed up is gone.
That's just one.
Yeah.
The immigration is just one issue that the cuckservatives are so worried about being perceived as racist or bullies or you know what I mean. They have all this like white conservative guilt. You know what I mean? And the liberals, they're not even as open about it as the liberals though. That's what's so fucking worthless about them. They could be hot or cold, but they're lukewarm.
Right, yeah,
like I'd rather have someone come out and say I'm a fucking communist or whatever. Right. I despise them, but at least they're honest.
Right, I can face you. I might get stabbed in the back.
I can have some respect for you if you're just telling me what you believe. You know what I mean? But but don't instead of running around and pretending you're on one side and then stabbing people in the back or failing to help them when it's like, what's the point?
When it's your turn to put a shield in the front of the line,
get the fuck out of here.
Well, I don't know if we should be fighting.
If you're just going to be tone police your side more than you're actually fighting the enemy.
Right.
Then fucking get out of here. Then Depart from us. Yeah, we ask not your counsel or your arms. May your chains rest lightly upon you.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
This
is just a hilarious term.
Here's
to
more
sum it all up,
conservative.
It's a hilarious term.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to finish reading what Cernovich wrote too.
Go ahead.
He wrote, "A conservative wants to be part of the establishment. They take their rules from." Oh, I already read that part. Blah blah blah. A conservative cares more about attacking Donald Trump than in understanding why Trump has grown a huge audience. Hint: Trump's rise is not due to his policy positions. Instead, Trump's success is due to America's fatigue with supplicating conservatives bowing down to the media establishment. And I wanted to talk more on that in a second.
We'll talk more on this because this is exactly what I want to talk about Trump as
Continuing, a conservative believes Israel's borders must be protected at all costs, but that even suggesting America has a border is racist.
Right, yeah.
A conservative wants to be part of the establishment. Being a, quote, New York Times bestselling author matters more to a conservative than making America great again. A conservative lives in terror of being labeled a racist. A conservative calls people who use the term conservative racist. A conservative is so far up the SJW, social justice warrior, establishment's ass that they think we care. And then they have this hilarious picture that shows the Gadsden flag, but the snake is like staked to the ground and has a ball gag in, and it's all like wide-eyed and fearful, and it says, "Oh, please tread on me." Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Because that's what it is. It's like they're worthless. They're fucking worthless cowards.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, if you're going to be like that, just go be a fucking liberal.
Right. That's I guess why it's so annoying is because, like you said, somebody of a different ideology, I know why I disagree with you.
Right.
I think you're wrong, and I will always think you're wrong because I believe what I believe very strongly, but I understand that you're in the same position. You believe what you believe very strongly.
Right.
I may think that your logic is so stupid that you are a retard.
Yeah.
But at least you have the courage to stand for what you stand for.
Even if it's stupid.
Even if it's stupid. You know, like, hey, maybe
one day I've had ideas that were stupid before.
Right, yeah. I probably stood for the wrong thing plenty of times in my life, but at least I had the courage to stand for what I stood for at that time.
And not, not just be a fucking coward.
I would hope I at least had the courage to stand what I stand for at that time, I should say.
Anytime I've been tested, I have, so.
Right, yeah. That's probably.
I love the graphic, yeah.
Yeah. But back to Trump. I think Trump is.
Well, I forget who said it, but. Because I probably don't even agree with him on many of his actual political positions. Because I don't know most of them. Doesn't mean I don't know what most of them are, but I just don't agree with most people on them because I'm such a staunch libertarian. So, but the issue is, and I don't forget who said this, but someone said, for better or worse, the one good thing that Trump has already done is irrevocably changed the way the political game is played. He's shown the conservatives that they're getting nowhere by coming out and being like, no, fuck you, this is actually what we want. Right. He's got like 30% of the vote already.
Oh, they're never going to let him go for it, though. That's it's going to be like Ron Paul or something else. Like they'll get to some point and they'll miss the votes. We'll see. But I'm kind of calm. They'll probably.
That's what's so stupid about it. They're more concerned with actually being perceived as not with him than they are about even winning.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because he so obviously has the best chance of any of the Republican candidates of winning. And they'd rather than being perceived as being on his side.
He's probably some crazy, probably semi-psychotic type dude, but he would still be better than anybody else they're fielding. Right, because he's not a pushover.
Yeah, he's not a pussy.
He's the only guy out there who's not going to give us the same shit we've already had the past 10 times.
Right, exactly.
You know, and so...
And I still won't, like I'm saying, I don't know if I could vote for him yet. I'd have to see how he actually stands for on issues. Right. But
I'm saying,
but that alone is coming out when you say...
Right now, if you gun to my head, I had to pick somebody, I'd pick him over anybody else because... He's not a pussy.
Right.
He's not going to give me the same thing that everybody else has got me, I would think. It seems like
he's actually come out on the right side of a few important issues a lot of people are too scared.
Even if other ones were wrong, he would at least be... He's at least vociferously on the side of certain things that he should be.
Exactly.
He's
at least promoting national interest. And he's even said that. Like, I want America... He's like, I'm coming out here in support of America.
Imagine that heinous sin of wanting America, the country you live in, to be... pretty good.
Or actually just to keep it from completely disintegrating.
Right, yeah. Like, basically his thing about, wanting to reimpose, like, tariffs on Chinese goods and stuff like that. Like, yes, these are things that should have been happening for a long time, Like,
yeah, exactly.
Just because, like, hey, not that there's anything wrong with us buying goods from China, but you got to have an economic policy that favors growth of economy in your own country.
And what another thing that I've read that shows how much of, quote-unquote, conservatives these other candidates are, is they're all the prep leading up to the first Republican debate, like they're all tripping over themselves on how to like deal with Trump. It's not even about like how do we deal with the issues, how do we attract voters. It's like, what are we going to do about Trump?
Oh my God, he's ruining the party.
These fucking pathetic pieces of shit. There's fucking sackless losers, man. Right. Like, it's disgusting.
Well, it's the problem with
it's disgusting. That's why conservative is such a good term. It's literally like someone who's standing there and watching like someone bang their wife, and they don't want to say anything because it's like a black dude and they don't want to be considered racist.
Right.
Like, it's literally, they're watching our country be fucked in multiple ways, not just immigration. But they're too afraid of being kicked out of the establishment party, or not being in the in-group, you know what I mean? Or actually having some sort of, people think that they're mean or whatever,
now,
but
like,
they won't
for
even
example,
fight
like
it.
Trump and other things probably won't handle certain things that I would have loved with like some of the other candidates, like about like the Fed or anything else like that.
Exactly.
But he's the only guy amongst even the Republicans who's being honest about like, halt immigration right now.
Yeah.
Defend our borders. Start making economic policies that favor America and its companies, you know, like instead of just the rest of the world.
Is it that crazy to think that our president should be actively fighting for the interests of our country?
Right.
You know what I mean? Is that crazy of a position?
Why is that all of a sudden so bizarre?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's because, I'll tell you exactly why. We just talked about it. A lot of these people are not Americans. Yeah. Even if they're American citizens, they're not American in their identification, really.
Yeah, they don't think about being American is the same thing.
They don't have the same interest
in
the country.
And what's so funny to me, though, is that it's all just a bunch of status whoring baloney, because
that's what Cuckservative is talking about.
Right, but like, to them, proving how not American you are, like, I gave to the world, is like...
It's almost like a badge of honor.
It's like a badge of honor. It's like, which is fine, but don't try to drag the country down. It's like, it's not fine, because it's like the difference... Let me give an example. Again, morality scales and people never realize it.
Right.
This goes back again. You can make this. You can take it down to the family level or to a single household, and then all of a sudden you see how stupid you're being. If you have a family, and your job is to take care of your family because you're the head of that family. You know, like you're a husband and wife pair or something. They got to take care of this family. They're the elder family people in it. They got to take care of it. So your job is to take care of this family. So you want to make decisions that keep your family fed, your family healthy, your family employed, etc. Then, after that's taken care of, if you've got extra, you can help your neighbors.
Right, well, that's not my point. My point is that if someone wants to consider themselves some nationalist cosmopolitan or whatever, I don't give a fuck.
Well,
but
I'm saying that's not what a politician should do.
No.
Like, if you're like a New York socialite.
What the president should be supporting the interests of the organization that he's leading, whether that's the country or the local book club. Right. You know, if you're the president of an organization... If you want to be a worldly socialite
that waves no flags, well, then what you are is a worldly socialite. You're not a leader.
Right, and I don't really give a fuck if someone wants to do that.
But, no, I don't care either. But that never causes problems
part of an organization,
if you're not a leader.
Yeah.
If you're a leader and your thing is, oh, we need to get rid of this thing I'm leading because it's getting in the way of me being a citizen of the world. You know, like, well, then why are you leading it? Like, just get out of the way and let somebody who wants...
to make want to change it.
Well, yeah, of course.
They don't even want it to exist like that.
Right.
Yeah. And that's why you see so many of those people, they can't even just let you be in like the states that allow certain things and everyone there is okay with it, or certain communities. Right. Or like even certain just houses where like someone doesn't have electricity. They can't even just fucking leave these people alone. They have to get in there and try to control all of it.
This neighborhood, you know.
So they can't just live their life the way they want.
Right.
Because most people are able to do that.
Right, most people are able to leave
or have been traditionally able to just do almost whatever you want.
Yeah.
So, but they just aren't okay if someone else out there is doing something different. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, but more than that, it's like I said, it's the fact that you get leaders who's like I said, they want to fundamentally transform what they're leading. Which it's not even that you just want to transform it, because there's many times throughout history that a leader needs to transform what he's leading so that thing survives.
But it's still in the interest of...
But it's in the interest... Yeah. There's a difference of being in the interest of making sure...
Or freedom, or like some sort of like basic human right.
Like, for example, George Washington or something, right. Just... or maybe like one of the Roman leaders or something, or like Charlemagne or something. Charlemagne made a lot of efforts to change France and what became Christendom at the time in the Holy Roman Empire, instituting like schools and all these kinds of things. He wanted to fundamentally transform everything.
I want to see what.
But the whole point was because he thought it would be better for his people. Then.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Is a lot of these people think that what they're doing would make it better, but
except that what I'll say is a lot of them, if you could honestly slap them until they were honest,
truth serum them,
truth serum them. Their idea of better for their people would be to have their people be liquidated or gotten rid of.
Well, they don't believe. They believe in that it's okay to have identity politics or whatever for every group except for like white Americans or even just regular Americans. But I want to see what Breitbart says about Cuckservative.
Oh, yeah.
It says a lot of drama in the conservative blogosphere over an apparently trivial diss, the word Cuckservative. I'm going to lose some friends and admirers with what follows, but who is this? Wrote this? Oh, it's Milo Yiannopoulos.
Yes. Okay.
The drama started on July 22nd when Rush Limbaugh referred to critics. Oh, Rush Limbaugh picked it up.
Okay, so
but
like
Heartiste, everybody was using it way before that.
Yeah, well, like all things online,
finally one of the big persons says it. Referred to critics of Donald Trump as cuckolded Republicans. A day later, Red State's Eric Erickson said the term was coined by white supremacists as a slur against Christian voters. What the fuck does that even mean?
This is most Christian voters are not, like, that's another thing, too. Like, you look at
then the internet was on fire with allegations that a cuckservative was a racist term. That's what's so funny, is that they used the cuckservative to describe people who do this exact thing.
Right.
And just call you a racist. And all they did was respond.
Only refute you by saying you're a racist.
Right, and that's how they refuted being called that. Right, and that's how they refuted you saying that that's what they do, is by doing the exact same thing.
Somebody said, you're a cuckservative. One of those guys who anytime I make a point says I'm a racist.
That's racist.
That's racist! You're like, oh, what? You can't call me a cuckservative. That's racist.
Ridiculous. This is a helpful White Ring blog recently noted, I have, quote, literally taken black dicks in the ass. What? He's talking. I guess he's talking about Milo because Milo's gay.
Oh, okay.
So he's probably just saying that. Is it? So as the leading conservative authority on interracial intercourse, I therefore feel compelled to set the record straight on the so-called racial organ and dimensions of this insult. Here's my verdicts. All the writers above are wrong. As someone who's been covering web culture and online memes for years and who has a great deal of respect for how well many right-wingers have taken to internet culture, I'm slightly embarrassed by my fellow conservatives' inability to understand a term that returned to popular use not on white power websites but on 4chan.
Oh, I saw somebody quote this piece of the article.
I part of this. Okay.
This sounds familiar now.
Yeah.
Because somebody used it to the same thing. They're talking about, like, it's not a racial term. Like, the only reason it's even people confused it with racism is because of the recent other kerfuffle.
It's where, anyway, the term cuckold is specifically to describe an emasculated male. More specifically, someone whose wife has sex with someone else.
Right. In the ancient word, from like Shakespearean times.
Bird.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it lays its eggs in another nest and has someone else raise its offspring.
Right, so the idea was, you're such a weak man that you don't know that your wife's been sleeping around and
you're
your
raising
kid
someone
is not
else's
yours.
Children, right.
Right, so
nothing to do with race.
You're either too dumb...
It's a paternity thing, yeah.
Or too weak to guard your mate.
Right.
And she's been having other people's kids and you're paying for them.
And you're raising them.
And you're raising them. And so then...
And they're using that to be, like, knowingly now that you're, like, a cuckold.
Well, now there's some weird, like, cuckold fetish stuff just along with other people's weird fetishes and all kinds of other weird things, like watching somebody else screw your wife or some bizarre shit. And then...
well, that's what said. This apparently, the Daily Caller's Matt Lewis thinks that exclusively black men feature in this kind of pornography. It's like, even if that were the case, it doesn't change the definition of the word.
No, the word pre-existed any of this by hundreds of years.
Right.
Like, it was used in Shakespearean plays, literally. That's why I said Shakespearean times, because I'm sure
like I said, the cuckoo bird, I think it's, like, based on that.
That's why they gave it the name, yeah.
Right.
Because that was one of its habits, would be to, like, leave its...
It would lay its eggs in
another species' nest.
Yeah, and then they would raise their
And then
offspring.
it would have to be like, I don't have to do any work.
Right. Yeah, so it's using genetic resources of other beings to raise its offspring. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, all these birds hatch, and one of them's like really different. And they're like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, so on 4chan, and in the internet kind of language, where stuff is does evolve. Especially, I mean, like you can't say that language now is the same as even 10 years ago, especially online.
Well, in terms of slang and
right. And they said the term "cuck"
is
used as a general term of abuse to describe someone who caves in, surrenders, or sells out his core supporters, and basically, just like a obsequious like. Thank you, sir. May I have another kind of situation?
Right, because that's always how it was used. It went from being the literal description of someone who is not guarding their mate, whose woman is running around on them, and they've raised their own, somebody else's kids.
Right.
So from there, it went to somebody who lets that happen is obviously
like
some
a
sort
weak,
of
emasculated
weak person,
male. So they use it a little more broadly.
They used it just as a way of saying, like, you little bitch,
right.
like, oh, look at this cuckold,
yeah,
like this cuckold dares insult me, like,
right.
Look at this pansy fop, I shall best him in the ring of honor,
That's why it says it's easy to see why cuck makes such a good insult. It's a byword for needlessly relinquished manliness.
Yeah.
Selling out and caving in. The original metaphor of watching your partner getting slammed by another dude now simply means abandoned principles and a lack of backbone. Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So it means like you're someone who's willing to stand by.
So what was so funny is like people who were insulted by it immediately thought, and how did they know about this? But they immediately thought it meant sexual deviancy, meaning you want to watch black men fuck your wife.
Right.
Why was that on your mind?
Like,
is that what you want? Yeah, exactly. We used it to mean you just had no balls, but why did you think it meant watching black men fuck your wife, and therefore that was racist?
Same as in someone who would just stand there and let someone like steal all their stuff and be like, I'm taking this. Like, oh,
don't cut yourself.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Hang on there.
Let
me help carry that out for you. The glass is just. I'll open the door for you. You don't need to break the glass. It might cut you.
Yeah, it says Semantic shifts like this happen all the time. Hooligan used to refer to Irish drunks. Vandal was about Germans. And the phrase hip hip hooray comes from an old European shepherd's herding cry. There used to be a call for arms for citizens Hebrew, but we don't or citizens Hebrew hunting in the Jewish ghettos. But we don't cry racist whenever someone says any of these words. That would be stupid. Yeah. But it is funny because of how this like fucking how much they react to.
Everybody got like real butthurt really.
Oh
fast.
yeah, it shows how just like the shiv was stuck in and twisted at just the right spot, the
found
sweet spot.
Yeah, found the methinks the ladies doth protest too much.
Yeah, exactly.
You have found the.
I bathe in cuckservative tears. How about that
right?
one? It is glorious. I agree with Milo. It's a gloriously effective insult.
Yeah.
And such weak ass people like Jeb Bush and stuff are the perfect examples of it.
Oh god.
And like
Jeb
Cruz,
Bush.
Ted Cruz.
I don't even know anything about
not Ted
Jeb
Cruz,
Bush
but Rubio, I think, and they're all weak. But
yeah, but I mean, like I don't even remember. I remember Jeb Bush was governor of Florida for a while, but I can't even remember anything about it.
He's a weak career politician. He's
but
a weak person.
Just like
you can see these people's fucking faces. They're living
tofu.
People.
They exist to like soak up the juices of the ruling party and do what they want. Like they're not leaders. They're
pathetic excuses for humans.
Right.
Yeah,
they're just dynasties of
Right. I mean that alone, like it's ridiculous that you'll see all these polls where 95% of people say that they don't think anyone in Congress should be reelected, but like 75% of incumbents win.
Because no one else ever makes the ballot.
Well, because they just don't. I mean, they're just stupid. But
there's far too many stupid people voting.
Right. But it shows. But I'm saying those same. They just don't even vote what they say they're going to.
Well,
and
that's
the fact that people aren't just like absolutely outraged that there could be a Clinton Bush presidential
runoff again.
It's absurd. A third Bush or a second Clinton?
And people can't say like,
what the fuck?
Something's going wrong with our country.
We're not supposed to have a king.
Well, it couldn't have been those previous people. Could it have?
Yeah.
No way.
And someone who's totally different is just obviously unacceptable.
Not a good idea.
Yeah.
The last time we had these guys, it all went to shit. So we should try something different and get
that's
these
what the
guys.
Cuckservatives are saying. Is that they're like just trying to offer. They see that the Democrats have won a couple elections, so now they're just trying to offer Democrat light.
Right,
which is not going to attract the
a
Democrats.
Better Democrat. That's all they're
trying
to do. They're trying to convince that the conservative Democrat is a better Democrat.
Right.
And it's not to a Democrat.
No, and it's
not
to a conservative. Right.
So it's failed either way.
The only one they pick up are the people who are just like the lesser
other Cuckservatives.
Yeah, the Cuckservatives are the lesser.
The rest of them was like, well, I'm conservative, so I have to vote conservative.
They'll vote for anyone
but I want
with
to
an R
prove
next
that
to
I've got that I'm also enlightened, so
they'll vote for anyone with an R
Cuckservative.
next to the name, even if 15 years ago they would have been looked at as a fucking communist.
Right,
as long as the other person's worse, it's okay.
Right.
Like, no, that's fucking unacceptable. Ridiculous. Absurd.
I'm just mad that I have to go down with the rest of this shit.
I know, right? That's why I read a quote yesterday that said,
I stopped rowing a long time ago because I saw the
ignore history
waterfall.
are doomed to, or those who don't read history or whatever are doomed to repeat it, and those who do are damned to stand by while everyone else repeats it.
Yeah, exactly.
Stand by and watch while everyone else repeats it.
Are damned to be on the prow of the ship saying, "Look out!"
Yeah, fuck you. But yeah, so I mean, like the crappy thing is your choice: either jump off into the icy water or just try to wait until the ship start building your life raft. Start building a life raft, and that's all we're doing now is just try to position ourselves for the future, as Gregory Mannarino says, be your own central bank.
Yeah.
Collect real assets if possible, and get away from this.
All the more difficult these days, but yes.
But I think I agree with Fox that we're gonna have. I mean, we can't go on like this. Like, I'm not even talking about the economic things, which obviously we can't go on like that.
Well, no, there's no social cohesion anymore.
There's gonna be a breakup of the country.
It's
hopefully a non-violent one. Well, I think it'll be
2030
he says 2033 is his pick for when there will be a fracture.
His over under.
Yeah, that's his over under. I think that's a little early because that's only 15.
Because I think that's not counting on how slow people are to catch on.
Right,
but there could be some things economic that force it faster.
And that certainly could, because if you see a lot of these states like New York and California that are
just run out of money.
Well, they're already out of money. They're net,
but nobody else gives them money eventually.
You're right. So then when it's like other states, you may look, why are we supporting these that have all these policies that we don't agree with, and we're the ones who are paying for their failed policy? They're gonna be like, no, fuck that.
They're failed policies that are just paying more people.
And now
to
it's
go
literally
on the
costing us. Yeah.
They're literally importing people
paying
that we have to pay
immigrants, and importing people to and I mean, or you could have the Democratic issue where if someone like Trump doesn't win and control immigration, demographics alone will prevent any actual conservative from ever winning an election again.
Well, and not only that, you'll get to the point where they won't feel the need to be subtle about it anymore. And I guess, again, apropos of no moral judgment, why should they?
Right.
At the point at which, Hispanics get
numbers
51%,
alone, there will be no way for...
Why don't they just say, hey, we're going to make a Hispanic president or senator or something, very obvious one, who's going to say, from now on, there's no background checks on any Hispanics, you automatically get money or something like that.
When you have a part of the country is a group consisting of 2/3 of the country or whatever, or even half, a politician that supports whatever issues they're interested in is going to soak up all their votes.
Right.
So it'll be impossible for anyone else to get elected because it'll be too late for the people to see hey, we need to start doing some white identity politics like we've been telling everyone else to do for other groups to do for the past 30 years.
Everybody else
but it'll be too late because there won't be enough of us left anymore.
Right. Yeah, and the problem is, it's it's an apropos of any moral judgment of whether or not that's better.
I'm not even talking about in a racial sense, but just white Americans as a whole
want
value things that these other groups don't value. Yeah.
Right, and that's the problem. It's people can't make it a decision about that each group, just I agree with a certain extent to left is saying okay, these different groups have a right to their own culture. Yes, they do.
Yeah,
but the problem is you can't give them their rights by crushing somebody else's.
Right.
By taking somebody else's saying, but you don't have any right to your culture because it's bland white culture. Right. Okay, this is a whole other rabbit hole I have to go down. But I remember seeing somebody link to something, I can't remember, it was something off of New York Times or Huffington Post or something like that. Somebody linked to it, and it was talking about how we need to come up with a new... It was off after the recent shootings in Charleston.
Oh, at the Marine recruiter's office?
No. Charleston shootings.
Oh, the Charleston ones at the church.
So
Chattanooga was the other one.
Yeah.
Which I have a story about that, actually.
Yeah, but the Charleston shootings of the kid who made a, decided he was going to shoot black people to pick the church.
Exactly.
And, and so they wanted to make this article about we needed to create, basically we need to create a new, inclusive kind of American culture, because anytime you try to champion American culture, just turns into this white racism. You can't white culture is too bland and it's there's nothing to it. So we got to create this culture where it doesn't matter if you're white, you're just American.
Right.
And it's what are you, a retard? White culture's not bland. You've just been taught to believe that. You know what white culture is? Beethoven, Shakespeare.
Well, it's just they don't. It's
Elvis.
Not what they think
is. Hollywood.
Yeah.
Who made that? Was it in Africa?
Regardless of if they
was
think
it in China?
If it even is bland or not, they're literally advocating eliminating
right.
the culture,
right?
Just because they don't like it.
But it's not only. I think not just
Aboriginal culture is pretty fucking bland. Does that mean I should go in and destroy it?
It's just the normalcy bias is what it is. People think white culture is bland simply because it's what we know,
right.
and it is not only what we know; it is
to.
The currently economically dominant culture.
Right.
Meaning it's exporting its goods to other places more than other cultures.
Yeah, its culture's being
more people are watching American movies.
So it just seems like the status
than
quo.
other countries watching us watching other.
Because you don't think of your culture as being cultural. Because you're just used to it. You don't go...
right. Now, some of it is that our culture, the effects of quote-unquote culture have changed. Because everything's just mass media.
There's more of a worldwide,
Well, it's not even that. It's just that culture in and of itself is not the same. We don't have, rituals, services, religions, festivals, feasts as much as as used to be in, ancient world.
1,000 years ago.
Right, or even a couple hundred years ago. Right. You know what I mean? Now it's just all kind of entertainment is culture. What do you do? What's your culture?
Music, movies,
fashion, I like this kind of music.
Food, music.
I go to classical. I go to this. Right. But there's no cohesive. We celebrate these things because they have a cultural identity thing does. But that's not because white culture's bland. That's just because consumerism or mass media or some other facet has eroded what used to be traditional things. Right. And so anyway, it's
But you want to get really mad.
Oh, God. It was just so fair. White culture's so bland. We need to get rid of it. Wait a minute. The whole reason you can even write is because some fucking white dude called Gutenberg invented a printing press. Fuck you. No culture. What the hell?
You want to get really pissed off. Speaking of shootings, at the Chattanooga, I guess it was a naval recruiting office.
Yeah.
Well, there was multiple. But one guy at the naval one is prepared to be totally flabbergasted. He, I guess he had a weapon on him and shot back at the guy.
Yeah.
Any guesses to what's happening to this
now
guy?
Now he's court-martialed.
Yeah, exactly.
Dear
Brought up
God.
on fucking charge. Why would anyone want to go work for an organization like that?
Why?
First of all, you're even joining it, you're risking your life and saying, I'm willing to risk my life for my country, everyone around me.
Quit.
And then when you actually do that, then you're saying, no, that was against the rules. You're taking fire.
Enemy fire and
firing back to protect yourselves and the lives of your comrades.
Self-avowed person who wants to kill Americans.
Yeah.
Your primary job, defending the lives and borders of
and
America
and
supporting the Constitution. The three things you're supposed to do.
Disgusting. There's no other word for it.
And one guy is...
Speaking of fucking cuckolds, it's like, people who would do that.
Right.
They get fired upon, and when people fire back, they punish their own fucking people. They punish their own fucking people. I'm not that angry because I'm not surprised.
But
is that disgusting?
But it's disgusting.
Is there any other word for it? It's despicable.
It's not that I'm angry because, like I said, unfortunately, I'm not that surprised.
No.
But I am
that's
awful. The bile is up.
I know, it's disgusting.
Just like,
why would anyone who has a chance to stay in the military
any patriotism left in you, don't be in the military.
Yeah, well, how could you? That's disgusting.
There's no point.
They've actively come out and said, we will not support you, even when your lives are risked.
Right. Even when you do what a soldier should do, we're going to fire you or put you in jail.
Yeah, disgusting.
They're more worried about making sure the cadets are wearing heels.
Yeah, to support some
sort of idea of transgenderism or something.
Transgender or whatever. Yeah, it's absolutely disgusting.
Don't join the military. Get out when you can.
Yeah, don't join. Absolutely, get out. Why would you work for an organization that doesn't give a shit about you?
Yeah.
Disgusting. You're supposed to go over there and get blown up for an organization like that?
Yeah, isn't that like a nice... Everybody who's like learning to reuse their robotic limbs after they lost a limb in Iraq...
This is what they think of you.
This is what you lost a limb for.
Yeah, this is what they think.
You lost a limb for somebody who's going to court-martial a fellow soldier for firing back on an enemy.
Protect him and his men. That's the freedom that you were supposedly protecting over there.
Right.
That you got your faces melted off and your limbs blown apart for.
Right.
That's what you were defending. Fucking
you were defending
disgusting.
these same politicians and leaders who make these decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
You worked for them and you lost your fucking face for this.
People can't be so outraged about that they would like. If I was a general, I can't even imagine. I would fucking fire everyone under me who even had anything to do with that shit.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. That's all there is to it.
I can't believe there isn't a single general who's stepping in and saying, this court-martial's thrown out.
Yeah, and you're fucking, it's the first chance I get to, get rid of you is happening.
Right.
For even having anything to do with this disgrace.
This
is a
goddamn
goddamn
brought charges against this guy should immediately be, written out by his superior. His superior should have thrown him out of the military.
Right.
Court-martialed him.
Right, exactly.
Immediately.
Right, just
and the fact that there is no military personnel with enough of a spine
want to have
in the
that
top
person
brass.
work for them ever again in any company. Why would you want someone who doesn't give a shit about your own people?
Right. Why would you want someone whose first instinct when a soldier fires his weapon in defense of his other soldiers, your first instinct is to punish him,
to find whatever technical rule they broke, and then go after them.
Ridiculous. God,
absolutely disgusting.
I can't believe there isn't a single higher level person than that person. And
this isn't even like a fucking donut shop where they said don't care. This is a fucking United States military personnel.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
You didn't have
they're supposed to stand around with their dicks in their hand while cultural diversity shoots them in the face.
Right.
And it's wrong for them to shoot
and they wait for the cops to show up while the cops are going, I don't know if it's safe.
Right, and then put the handcuffs on the guy who had his concealed weapon or whatever.
Right,
Disgusting. Absolutely disgraceful. But anyways, that's probably enough for today.
On that dour and sour note.
Let's contemplate the demise of our once great nation.
Right, it's the Cuckservative battle.
Yeah. Well,
so that's the funny bit there, the up-tempo bit to go out on.
Right.
Have you celebrated your local Cuckservative Day? Make sure you know that you know. Make sure they know that you know that they're a Cuckservative.
Yeah. And
Tell them
and please tread on them.
Please tread on them because they really
enjoy it.
Yeah. Secretly, they want to be kicked in the ass.
They're gluttons for punishment.
Oh, beat me, mistress, please.
Please, sir, may I have another?
Right, yeah.
Thank you, sir, may I have another? All right. That was English Podcast.
Go to englishenglish.net, like us on iTunes and on SoundCloud, and share us with everybody.
Peace out.
Later.